president-elect's picks for defense secretary may seem made for TV. Pete Hegseth is a host on Fox News Channel. The 44-year-old has been awarded 2 Bronze Star medals. In addition, he has degrees from 2 Ivy League universities, Princeton and Harvard. However, he lacks senior military or national security experience. And reports say that some people within the Pentagon are, quote, stunned by the president-elect's pick. And for more, we turn now to Des Roches, an associate professor at the Near East South Asia Center for Security Studies. He is also an airborne ranger in the Army Reserve. Sir, thank you so much for your time today, and we thank you for your service. As we mentioned, some people were a bit shocked by President-elect Trump's pick of Pete Hegseth, but what about you, and what qualifications do you think are imperative in this type of role?
Yeah, it's an unorthodox pick, and it's an unorthodox pick, and I'm not sure that it necessarily, the skill set matches up with what the Department of Defense needs. Look, the Department of Defense doesn't really need combat leaders. I felt that appointing generals to Secretary of Defense was a bad move, and said so at the time. What it needs is organizational talent, somebody who's led a large organization, and somebody who has experience. Our real challenges are reactivating the defense base and reforming procurement. So I think we need somebody with more of an industrial or a financial background. There are, literally hundreds of thousands of Americans who've served in combat. That's not really what that office needs. So it remains to be seen what will happen. But all that being said, the most important thing any cabinet head could have would be the trust of the president. So I think that at least for now, that's a good sign. He probably will get a mandate to implement what he needs to do. I think that there are advisors around President Trump who can point to the priorities of the department. I don't think that they are what's getting publicized right now.
Yeah, and also talk to us about really the important role of the Secretary of Defense, especially now as the United States faces threats on numerous fronts.
Yeah, good question. So the Secretary of Defense doesn't really develop war plans. He's not really the wartime commander. He's the leader of the organizational base. Now, he develops policy and he approves all these because he is in the chain of command, unlike the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But really, what he needs to be doing is appointing and overseeing combatant commanders who develop and implement combat actions in the war plans. And he needs to focus on the institutional base of the defense enterprise. That includes acquisition, research and development, procurement, personnel development. Those are all big functions that usually you have to have a background in organizational management, organizational leadership, finance, in order to do effectively. And combat service doesn't come into that. So it's kind of a conflation. People assume, well, if the guy has to be a pilot, be the Secretary of the Air Force. That's not the case for civilian leadership.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but Pete Hegseth made comments about opposing women in combat roles and saying he's not a fan of this diversity, equity, and inclusion that's in the military right now. Quickly, your thoughts on that. And is that something that he could even change being at the helm of the Defense Department?
I think he could make some differences along the margins, but it's very hard when you've had a policy that's been in place for 20 years to reverse it, particularly when there'll be women who will say, for example, if this policy is reversed, my career opportunities will be damaged. So it's going to be hard.
All right, David, thank you so much for your time today and for your service. Again, we appreciate it. God bless.
God bless.